Hi everyone, welcome. I'm Carly from Carly's Creative Clay. Nice to see you all. Hope you've all had a good week. Starting out really quickly, since we're on a dragon theme today again, I thought I'd show you one of the two of this range of dragons. There's a orange one as well in the Guardian of My Last Marble. As you can see, I have worked that in to the base with a heart, and that is completely smooth, so it's not raised at all. The base is covered in my favourite holographic glittering blue, and it is holding a nice little yellow swirly marble, so you get a good look at its face. The eyes are a bit sunken in on this one. I was trying something different, but I've got some really good fangs going on there, as you can see. I did quite a big frill line down its head, so let's bring that up closer like that. Can you see? And I really like the way on the back there I've managed to actually bring some of those lines over, so it does look like it's got a lot of movement in this one, and very, very nice big wings on her. I say her, I see it as female, but I don't know why. I leave that up to the owner. But yes, £35 went in my shop today. I thought it was in earlier, I looked earlier, and I actually forgot to make a listing for it, which means it's going to sell well when I do these things. So it's in there now. Thank you. Oh yes, I forgot to say also, in the base, can you see I mounted in some glass pebbles in different blues, whites and greens, so you've got a whole load of glass pebbles as well as your last marble guarded by this fierce girl. Right, yep, 35, only one of her, and there's another one with a marble in oranges and reds. Different looking dragon again. I tend to do one of a kinds. Right. Now, me doing what I normally do, which is giving myself a hard task to show you all. Most people, before they go onto a live stream or make a video, they would have practiced that thing so many times, so they've done it and they're really good at it. Not me, no, I don't do these things. That would be sensible. No, I practice at most once the amount of time I've done one of these, and I've not even done it before. I've just thought about it first time in front of the camera. Well, I'm doing that again with my dragons, and I'll get one to show you. The weakest point on them is base of the skull, where it joins to the neck there, and that bit where the wing, can you see it joins into the back? Now normally I make an L of wire and just stick it into the clay, but it has quite a bit of movement, and you can already see on this one, look at that wobble. It's not as stable as I want it. So instead of going and looking what everyone else does with their armatures, if you don't know the word armature, it's anything used to support the internal structure of something. So like a skeleton, posh word for a skeleton. So instead of looking up what other people are doing on it, I had a fiddle with some wire, and I think I've come up with something that works pretty good. Now, the one I ended up with, I've used on this gorgeous Christmas dragon. This one's already sold, so real sorry about that, but the one we're going to make will go into my shop. Picture. Oh, yeah, getting this, sorry. But the wings, they still got movement, but I'll show you how that wire goes deep inside and is different. But I'll give you a quick look at this guy because he's going to go off to his new home. There you go. And we're going to make a similar one, different colours, a few bits different about it. But this is the armature that I ended up with. It looks kind of like something like a cross between a Star Trek ship and a plucked turkey. But it's really, really good. It's practical. Now, what you need for it is some florist wire. So let's get some florist wire. Yeah. Right. So I'm going to start off decently long bit. You don't want it too long because you need to be able to actually work with it without taking the other people in the room's eye out. So I find a bit of wire that kind of length usually does it for me. It also helps, the pack of florist wire that I got was already pre-cut to length, so this is what I've learnt to work off of. Anyway, kind of eyeball it on where halfway is, and what I tend to do is I put my thumb either side, stretch my fingers, and then all you've got to work with is eyeballing that small amount there. I mean, you can get a ruler, but who needs to get a ruler? So we've now got roughly in the middle, and it doesn't matter exactly, but you want to be roughly halfway. There we go, bent over, you like that. Now we're going to go up to the tips, and we're going to make that line of the wing. So envision your dragon and go, I want that much wing for that side, and you're going to bend that down. Then you're going to bring the other side, put it next to it. You can do them both at once, but I find if you do one and you get it wrong, then it's only one that you've got to readjust. So I get one right, then I line the next one next to it, hold it firmly in your hand so it ain't going to wobble, and you do the bend on the other one, so you now got that. Yeah, that is that line. That is, so what you're looking at, that's what you've got in the body. Now you're then going to need to work out how wide apart you want these, so how much width on your back. So I'm going to go for about there, and then you're going to bring a little bend, and it's going to take a bit of finagling because you're going to try and get, sorry, you're bending it, you're going to go out, and then that's sort of the width of the body, and then the wing's going to go up like that. So you've just got a bit of shoulder width there. Try and get them as roughly the same as you can. How I measured it is the curve of one finger fits in both those little notches. Now, so you now got that. Then you need to get your pliers out if you got some, because we're going to twist this. 2 pairs is what I work with. You can, if you haven't got pliers, get a pen, put that in, hold that joint, and then twist like that. But
it's not visible unless you
sorry, here you go. So put a pen in the loop, holding at the joint, and you're just going to give it a bit of a twist. But you can use your pliers to hold the bottom. This is a good way if you ain't got pliers. So we're like that, we've got a bit of a loop, that's what we want. We can go back and fix these wings to where we want them. So a bit of a back like that, and then the wings sticking out. There we go, like that. Now, as we start to build the rest of the body, you will find that we tend to have to mess around with the wings. Sorry, my throat ain't back to what it was. Right, got the rings facing the wrong way round. That isn't useful because that is the head end. Am I right? Head end? Yeah, that is right. No, it ain't. That's the body end. See, that's how come I've done it once. So that's going to be your body. That's going to be your wings. And that's right. Next bit of wire goes into the shoulders. See? Once. You end up doing stupid stuff. So what you're going to do is you're going to get one end of that bit of what your next bit of wire, and you're going to wrap it round at that joint. Yeah? And you either get a tool, use your finger, whatever you can, but you want a few wraps around and it to be quite firmly held in that point. I'm just going to do that last bit. You can push it off your glass table, but don't worry about having little sticky out sharp bits. That is going to be embedded in tin foil in about 2 minutes time. So I'm going to bring this up and over, and then that bit twists onto the other shoulder, so you've got another loop, and we can get that to all lay right once we get it twisted on. So you saw I didn't fold that in half first like I did with this one. The reasoning why is it's better to get it in half once you've twisted it on, so then you haven't got to worry about using exactly the same amount of wire to twist it on to secure it as you did the other side, if that makes sense. Just making the job easier for yourself. So that needs to be a little bit tighter. Can you see it's still loose and moving? And that's when a pair of needle pliers can be really helpful in just tightening up that twist. So I'm just a bit of finagling. So this is why a lot of armature making is done off of camera, because you're watching someone trying to get a pair of pliers in a gap. It's not really great viewing, but that doesn't actually teach you how to make an armature. Now, if you cannot be bothered with all the wire twisting, you can always use metal epoxy. This dries like a metal welded joint. Inside you will see there is a dark grey, let's open it up, there's a dark grey inner line and a lighter grey outer bit. It's those two that need mixing together. When you take a slice, that gives you the proportions that you need. I do advise using gloves with this. It does stick to your fingers, and once it's mixed, it will go off on your fingers and can be a bit difficult to get off. So get your vinyls out, your disposable gloves. But I find with this one, just twisting, can you see it's now rigid in place? That one needs a little bit more tightening. The other one did fine, and you can just literally just squash the joint by pinching it. As long as it's holding, it don't have to be pretty. There you go. Right. Are you still moving? I would have a willful one, wouldn't I?
Do you need me to tilt the camera a bit more so that you don't have to
Here we go.
so far back? I can.
Right. No, this should be fine. Right, so body, wings. So we're now on the head. I'm going to do a light twist along that. And then this, when you get to where you got some head wire, you don't want to twist that. It doesn't matter that it's got a bend in it. I'm just going to bring it round my finger because that's roughly the kind of size head I want. What we're going to do is we're going to fill that space with tin foil. So you can see we've got that basic chicken look. So that's our wire. Now, if I wanted to put legs and hips on, what I would do is I would twist that down to there. You can untwist it and loosen some, but where you want the back legs, force some wire through, and then you've got wire to make your legs with. So you bend like that, and again with the front you can force it through one of the ones near the neck and then retwist it and it will form back in. But on this one I like to do the legs separately, but you can do that. That's with basic form. So now we're on to the tinfoil part. Instead of deafening you all, I've already torn off some nice little squares to work with. So we're going to start out by doing the padding around the body. So first off, let's get a rough shape that I want. So that kind of look, I think. Scrunch it up a bit, and we're just going to pack it round like that. Doesn't have to be neat, doesn't have to be smooth. You haven't got to worry about air bubbles, because that's a good thing about tin foil. It doesn't expand or shrink, so it tends to, if there's air in the middle of it, unless you've got a really big pocket, it shouldn't really come out and affect the outside of the clay. I could be wrong. If other people have had a different experience, I'm happy to hear that. So do let me know, but I've never had problems. So what I'm going to do with this bit, you see I'm just putting it there, and the top bit I'm wrapping over, and wrap that bit over, and then bring this up. See? So I'm just starting to pad out the chest a bit. We're going to push that back down so it's not taking up all that wing room. But it's easier to place before you scrunch it than after it's all tighter in a knot. So it's better to use bits of tin foil that aren't too pre-used and pre-scrunched up. So just starting to get there. Don't want to have anything too sticking out. That's the right kind of shape. We just need a bit more bulk because there's a whole lot more width to that dragon. So probably one more bit. And again, instead of bulking around that chest bit, I'm going to just go, I want to be more underneath to try and give it a bit of a belly. Don't worry if it don't hold in place too well. We're going to masking tape it afterwards. Just getting the shape we want. So there we go. We're pretty much there. Like that. I know most of the towel is missing, but I don't want to wire in the towel because it's harder to get those bends with a wire in it without the wire trying to come through. My advice is, if you aren't doing a thick towel, if you're going to do a very thin towel and you need wire there, you can always put wire through that, twist it and extend on. Put it in the shape, the curl that you want in the wire form before you add the clay and any foil, because when you try and move it around, it can push through the clay and stick out the sides. I will show you what to do if that happens. If it doesn't happen to me by accident, I'll cause it to happen later on. Just remind me if I forget. So I reckon that's enough stomach for me. I'm going to start with the head. Now, I'm going to take a nice little thin sliver like that. Give it a bit of a roll up. Make sure you don't give yourself tinfoil cuts. They're far worse than paper cuts. They sting. So another trick you can do if you're not used to handling tinfoil is get those edges, fold them in on themselves like that, and then work with the rest of the foil so you've got a smooth edge that you can't cut yourself on. Yeah? So fold them over first. I have just been careful. But I made a little roughly ball shape. It don't have to be ball shaped at this point. Just something that will fit in your curve okay. Like that. Then I'm going to make sure the wires around it decently tight. So you got that, see? Now, then we can get a bit bigger bit of foil. And again, so if I was to do this safely, first thing I'm doing, folding those edges in, fold those edges in, like that, put it on half, and then you've got, yes, it's a smaller bit of foil, it ain't cutting you. Yeah? So, I'm going to get this, do a slight sort of scrunch, and then form that. I put the head right in the middle of that ball of foil, and then I'm just going to use my hands to bring that into a nice shape that I want. So, don't forget you're going to be able to build it up with clay afterwards. This is just the basic inside. So all that front muzzle is just added clay. You're not trying to get that with the tin foil. You want the head also to be a little smaller than you want at the end, because you're going to need to be able to have enough clay on the outside to indent to put those eyes in so they don't stand out like frog eyes. So just get that all nice and on. Right, now you have two options with your tin foil, because you cannot put clay directly onto this, because if I show you closely, look at all those spiky bits. Can we zoom in? Can you see it's not smooth? So when you push your clay on, because it's a soft material, all those little jagged bits will just come straight through the clay. It's a look. You might even get away with it as if you're doing a dragon, if you kind of try and make it even, but it's not what I go for. So you can either use your glass board and literally just rub the tin foil on the glass board, and you'll see that it starts to smooth off all those jagged bits. But where it's all got some weird angles and bits that it's going to be really hard to get into the board without messing up my armature, what I use, masking tape. This gives a good surface for the clay to stick to, because it's kind of grippy, it's a little bit porous. It goes through the oven absolutely fine, and weirdly enough you don't have to be that neat with it, because sticky uppy pointy bits of masking tape do not tend to poke through clay. So what I'm going to do is squish that a bit thinner, because I don't want the towel to be that thick. Just start covering the whole thing in bits of masking tape. Now, I suggest you take small bits like what I've just done, bits that you can handle, and you don't have to be incredibly neat about it. See, I'm doing a lot of overlapping, and can you see there's going to be a lot of jaggedy, sticky, uppy, pointy bits, and you watch, they do not come through the clay. So get a few more bits of tape. I have tried using a really long bit of tape. You just end up wasting it because it ends up sticking to itself. So just go in at different angles so that you can cover any foil that's visible. You want to keep it tight to the foil because you don't want to lose the structure you've already made by having baggy tape. Just keep some tension on it. Now, the other thing I would say... Oh, hi Hearty Life! I'm in the middle of making an armature for a dragon. Now, much to my disappointment, and I've had this several times, this tape will hold probably for about an hour or two before it starts to peel off of the tin foil and off your wire. So if you've got thoughts that you're going to make your armature, cover it in tape and then go to bed and make the actual thing the next day, you will wake up and find your piece with a load of masking tape around it and none of it covering it. What I suggest, if you want to do that, cover it in a layer of PVA glue and that makes it hold. But no, I literally folded up some wire. If you're gonna make one, you're gonna need to watch how I did all the wire folding, and then I've just padded with tin foil on stomach and head, and I'm covering with masking tape. But I literally practiced this a couple of days ago. I worked it out and haven't done it since then, and thought, I know, let's do it on camera because any mistakes that happen will be good for you all to watch how I overcome them. So, weirdly enough, this is the bit I always find the hardest, is wrapping just the thin wire.
Do you mean to paint the PVA over the masking tape?
If you're going to leave your armature that's masking tape covered for longer than a few hours, because what I've found is the masking tape just starts to come unstuck and peel off, and
but you don't use the glue under the tape.
You don't use the glue under the tape, over the top of it to just seal it in. So once you've got it covered in masking tape, you put a layer of PVA glue, and then you can leave it overnight or even for a few days and it holds up. The other good thing that I have done, and I do suggest, if you are designing different clays to go on different patches and you want to draw on your masking taped up model, so say I drew the stomach on just so that I knew that the clay shouldn't go over that bit for the back.
Will that be okay with baking?
Yeah, fine. Do all your drawing on it in pen or Sharpie first and then cover it in the PVA glue, because what I've found is pen, especially Sharpie, when you put raw clay against it, it just lifts the ink off onto your clay. So if you're trying to draw out plans on your armature and you put clay and you want to take it back off again, putting a layer of PVA glue will stop you having all that ink come off. So on complex projects, that's my advice. Make your armature, cover it in masking tape, draw out your plan lines and then glue it. And PVA is so cheap. You can get massive bottles of it for £1 or £2. Right, you can see how scrappy I'm being with the masking tape. How there's lots of ridges. It's not smooth. It's just covered. Covered is what you're looking for. Not looking pretty at this stage. You're not going to see any of this. Right. Now, if you struggle going round a bend on wire, like I do, like with this wing, I go up one side, tear it off, and then form it with my fingers, and you'll find it will fold just enough around that joint that you can start next to it, and you'll get away with having that bend covered without trying to do contortionism with your masking tape.
I buy it in 5-litre bottles, and then I decant it into 50-milliliter bottles.
Yep, that's totally the way to do it. I've done that with rubbing alcohol. If there is a fire in this house, my shelf is going to go up like a torch. Let me show you.
That's 1 litre, is it?
Oop, don't drop a shelf. Here we go. Litre of isopropyl alcohol. Because I'm fed up with keep buying it in little bottles to clean up with. That was, I think it was £4 or £5. Really cheap. So, and that will last me forever. But
I just realised the numbers will mean nothing to you. I know.
because my brain does not hold numbers. I was at a hospital appointment today. He asked me my age. I was able to tell him a year of birth. Literally, he told me how old I was, and 5 minutes later I forgot it. I can hold some numbers for a very short amount of time, usually numbers to do with money, but all other things, my brain just goes, nope, you're not having that.
Hearted Life says, I do it for slime workshops.
It's weird what your brain will hold and what it won't.
You want me to tilt the camera
Sorry.
so that it's more near you? I don't mind.
I should be fine. I'm just got to remember to not have it directly under me.
I mean, I totally can point it.
It's fine. Okay. Right. There we go. Roughly wrapped up. Just got to do the end of the other wing.
Hearted Life says you'll probably be all happier for not knowing how old you're getting.
I really don't mind getting older. I'm looking forward to having grey hair. I think it looks stunning. And it means that you've got more life and more wisdom and more memories. No, I mean, and that whole thing about your body failing on you as you get older, well, mine did it in its 20s. I know people in their 90s that are still going jogging, so it's not necessarily going to fail. Right, so roughly covered. We've got a roughly dragonish looking thing already, so we're there. Now to make it actually into a dragon. Right, what I've done, this is the clay I've mixed up. This is copper. I've done a copper gold mix, half and half, so that gives you a rose gold. So one of the colours in this is a rose gold. Then there's a copper, a burgundy, a true red, and a dark gold, which I mix up gold and black to make a very dark gold. That's what those darker streaks are. I show you constantly in many videos how to make this swirly clay. I will get round to actually doing a video that's standalone of that, but here we are. You feel free to use a single colour. Now, I made up on purpose 2 little clay, and I'm going to show you how you can do how you can stretch your patterned clay using scrap clay. Thank you. So, scrap clay, conditioned up. Now the accenting colour, so the colour that I'm going to use for the wings, the horn and the stomach, is gold with glitter. Holographic gold glitter. Because Christmas. So, what I'm going to start off, move my pliers out of the way, get my tissue blade out. We're going to get our clay block and we're going to slice it very thinly so we know what we got clay wise to work with.
Actually, I like that scrap piece even better.
Yeah, it's from a cane that I did. On the British Polymer Clay Guild and Polymer Clay people, they both have, on their Facebook groups, they have a mentoring program where you can either sign up to learn something or sign up to teach something in clay. I've signed up as both. I want someone to help me with sculpting humans, but I've also signed up as a teacher to help with things like caning and sculpting and stuff like that, all for free. So if anyone wants some one-on-one tuition, go on there and just request me as a tutor. And this lady was struggling with complex cane work. She found it daunting. So I did a private video like this, one-on-one. We Skyped. I showed her how to make this cane. Can you zoom in? Thank you. She did the design and I went through how to make it with her. So anyone out there, if you're wanting some clay help, I love doing one-on-one tuitions with people.
That's really cool.
Thank you. But it was some of the distorted ends from that, and I used distorted ends for lots of different things, but I thought I needed to get hold of some scrap clay, and it was to hand, so this is what it's being used for now.
That's fantastic.
Right, I'm getting quite a few slices from this, so we're not so short on it, which is good. But I find it easier to cut it into slices. They're about 1/2 centimetre thick. And again, when you're cutting clay, try and get over the top of it. You get a better eye of what you're doing. And
did she make one at the same time for
yes.
an instructional demo?
Yep. She made it and video chat, so I got to see what she was making and she got to see what I was making, and we were able to talk over Facebook Messenger. So, right, first bit, just gonna flatten out some of these edges so they're not so prominent. See, like that? So instead of having that sort of flat side, I've pinched them so that it slants into, yeah, so it slants basically. Yeah, sorry about that. My words just went, you don't need words. What do you mean you're streaming? English is not necessary. First bit I like to place is between the shoulder blades and just going up the neck just slightly, so like that, and then I wrap it around like a cloak. Make sure you're not trapping air in that gap there. So fold one side under, push it into that neck bar, push any air out, and then fold the next one over the top. You don't want air in that joint. It'll make it structurally less stable. So you've got its cloak on. You're going to wrap that around the wings like that. Make sure it's nice, push down firmly. There you go. That's your first piece in place. Next bit, down underneath, and you can put the sides down flat by once it's on. I find it easier to pinch, but I'm just showing you that you can do it either way, and both ways work fine. You can feel when there's air trapped underneath, so when you feel air, push it towards a side that's open. So don't try and push it up there. You want to try and push down so that it can escape, so that it's all free. And then round that base of that towel, same sort of fold, one under the other, making sure you're not trapping air bubbles like that. Now we will get rid of that join line in a bit. We need to go up the neck and over the forehead. So I find it easier to go back of the head and under, but again, you're bringing one side as far across as you can, get rid of the air, and then slowly push up the top. Make sure that whole line has no air trapped under it, and then wrap the other bit round. If you've got too much, just literally tear it off, because we're going to go around after and neaten this all up, don't worry. Now around the head, and you can feel when you've got masking tape on, you can feel the clay grips, and that will mean I have to apply the clay to the wing across there differently to what I've shown you before, because before I showed you putting a ball into that center joint and then just smoothing it, bringing it up the wire. That works when you've not got covered wire. When it's smooth wire, the clay just slides across, but with tape you can't do that. So last bit, I'm going to use the thickest bit, that endy bit, for the forehead, because we're going to need to build up the clay on the face anyway. So again, make sure no air is trapped. We literally don't care about that big lump yet. It's not a problem. You're going to get that. What we care about is that you've got roughly the right head shape and you've not trapped air. Right. So I'm going to do next bit for the towel. Let's smooth that down by pinching it. There we go. Right, wrap round. Now here is your risk factor where the wire stops. What we're going to do is we're going to pinch the clay together at that point before we do any folding of this bit. Pinch it, bring the air out, and then wrap. And again along here, pinch it down and then fold over. Air is not your friend because it leaves like a cave. So all the wall is thin, and that's the amount of structural stability you've got. Now you can feel that the clay is pretty solid. So we're almost completely covered. I am leaving the stomach because we're going to put a different colour there, but there is those two lines along the flanks that I want to cover. So just going to cut myself a little line of clay. We're going to use that bit in a minute. So again, flatten that edge out, and like I always say, sharp side away from your arm, so if you catch it with your arm, it's no big deal. We're just going to put that in place where we want it, stretch it up so that it goes to that bottom bit of clay. There we go. Push it in place. Right, that's covered how I want. Same the other side. Quick flatten down. And you can see this method uses far less clay than doing your dragon without an armature. And what you'll find, depending on what you're paying for your polymer clay, and if you're paying more than $7.20, I think it is, for a 350 gram block of Thymo, you're paying too much. You'll look up Tumdee Doll's House Miniatures, Tumdee. They are the cheapest UK suppliers of Thymo that I've found, and when I got started I did some serious research, like months worth. It was several months checking out everyone, what they're selling it for, and his is the cheapest that I found. But it's tinfoil is still cheaper than polymer clay, even at a decent rate. So making a foil armature can help for that. I've just made a little ball and I'm sticking that on its face. So that looks more like malt with the worst fate tan and one leg. I know this. We are absolutely fine. It's not going wrong, even though you could think that don't look right. At this point I'm just going to make sure I get the neck in the shape that I want and get the body laying roughly where I want. Now I'm going to get the, what's the top bit of the wing called? The main bone of the wing covered. Now I'm not going to need a whole sheet, so just tear a bit off. Doesn't have to be even. Now for these I find it easier to go underneath, put it in the center. You want to overlap your joints. Always try and overlap your joints when you're putting sheets of clay on, and again, don't trap air, so feel that it's firmly pushed around the wire. But it's easier to push it up like that than it is to push it down, in my opinion. And you're just going to fold the clay over. The other good thing about using white masking tape is, especially if you're using a dark coloured clay, you can see if any of the tape's showing, because it's white instead of a very dark wire. That wing is not the shape I want. There you go. That's the shape I want. Make sure you keep your shape with your wire form. It's easier when you're coating it in clay to accidentally bend stuff out of position, and you really want to rectify that as soon as you can, rather than waiting until you've got all the clay looking perfect and then realise you've actually got to move the wire around. Right, that's roughly covered. One last one, and then we'll smooth all this in, make it look right, and even if you've got little bits, that's fine. You can still cover with them because you will be able to blend all these joints in so that they vanish. Even though there's a pattern on them. It's harder with patterned clays. I would advise, if you're first starting out sculpting, don't make it harder than it needs to be. Start out with a plain colour. All Fimo or all polymer clay can be mixed with other colours to make new colours. So red and blue together make a purple, all the same like you do with normal paint. So you do not have to stick with the colour that you've got in the packet, so long as you've got the primary colours. There are quite a few people who are very advanced clayers that literally only get the primary colours and make all their own up. I'm not at that stage yet. I don't buy the entire colour range, but I get about 10 or 15 different colours. I don't bother with small blocks other than for my accented gold and silver and copper clays, and if they came in 350 gram blocks, I would totally get them in that. So Fimo, if you're listening, please bring your accented clays into 350s, because having to get lots of tiny packets means I got to open lots of tiny packets, and I use clay in large amounts. So I'm pretty well covered. I want more clay at the base of that towel because I want it to be a thicker one. So we're just going to check that you've got as much clay allocation for everything as you need. So I'm probably going to need some more clay for that muzzle, so I just literally whack a bit more clay on. We're going to smooth all this in a minute with just allocating clay. Now what about that towel? What do I think? Do we need some more on that? I think maybe, since we've got so much left over up the top there, I'm going to put a bit more at the base of that towel, just so that it's thicker. Right, I reckon that's where we want, all bar the legs and arms. So how I smooth it in is I literally go around with my hands and use them just to smudge in until all the join lines are gone. You'll find if you've got a very precise pattern, this is a lot harder to do. That's why I like this swirly one. It doesn't notice so much when you're smudging in join lines. But I find if I am trying to smudge in with canes or things with intricate designs, covering it in plastic wrap, not cling film, so like deli wrap first and then smooth it in, will help hold the design so that you don't smudge it as much. But can you see already, just going around that head and neck, it's almost completely smoothed in and those join lines are vanishing quick. You haven't got to get the face shape right at this point, you're just smoothing in lines. You're going to go around and check out anywhere that's got a join line, and it's important that you get this right at this stage, because a join line, as well as looking kind of rubbish, it's also a weak point. So be pretty harsh with it. See, at the base of this neck, I'm really having to get my finger right in there and push to get that join line smoothed out. There you go. Top of the wing. So now, as you can see, instead of just having the wing stuck in as a free floating bit of florist wire, it's now attached right into the body, so that is going to be harder to snap off by a very long way than my previous ways of doing dragons. I'm just pushing and shaping and getting that so that it sits how I want. There we go. Is that all the join lines gone? Oh, nope, there's one. Keep going round. This clay has turned out a lot more brown than I thought. The actual individual colours had far more red to it than this, but I still like it. There we go, that's that wing looking grand. This one, where I've used lots of little bits, is going to take more smoothing. But you can see how quickly it all vanishes. So, at some point over the next few months, I am going to be looking into moving my shop from Etsy to a different platform. I don't know what yet. I haven't done the research on what's the best thing for me, but Etsy price tags are, the listing fees are just costing me too much compared to the sales that I'm getting. So there will come a point where I will be letting you know where my newest place for selling is going to be. Indeed, if there's only one, there might be several. I've heard lots and lots of different sales places, because I'm not the only one that's getting very disillusioned with Etsy. They've had a lot of policy changes recently, and it's very hard for someone like me who makes one-off things. The new policies are very much geared towards people who make the same design over and over again. So it's still handmade, but you're not having different things each time. You're having exactly the same thing being made. I could do that. I think it would bore me to tears. And I like the fact that I can offer individual bespoke pieces, so people know if they've got something from me. Maybe the charms, I go to about as many as 16 of the same thing, but most of the big items, there's one of them, and that's it, and that's all I'm going to make. And I have had people message me and say, can you make this again? And my answer is no. I can make something similar, but the person who bought that thought they were getting something that was one off, and I'm not going to betray that later on. Even if they never find out about it, I know. So I don't do it. But the way Etsy's now, its new algorithms, the more you sell off the same listing, because the listing's got history, it goes higher than new listings, no matter how many sales you've got in your shop. So between that and the offer free postage, my bits are showing up a long way down the search for everyone. And the reason why I don't offer free postage is actually it winds up being bad for the customer. because I sell in several countries, what most people do, they take the price of the postage and add it to the cost of the item. So if you've got a £10 item and it costs £4 to post in the UK, you sell the item for £14 and say free postage. Well, that's all well and good. I can't offer that same free postage to my American customers where it costs £13 to send. So either they're going to pay £14 for a £10 item plus postage, because you can't offer several different price tags. You can offer different postal amounts, but you can't offer different item amounts. Or I add £13 instead of £4 and offer free shipping internationally, which means that my UK customers are now paying £13 for their £4 postage. So someone's getting royally gypped, and I don't like it. Plus, if you offer free postage and something goes wrong where you want to refund the postage they've paid or part of the item cost, you can't separate them later on. So
Fairy Hedgehog says postage included really isn't good.
it works for big companies who have their own postal logistics system. But if you've got to use a postal service like Royal Mail, it then becomes really bad. So I know it's popular. I know this, but it causes problems for the small time seller because they can't offer free postage, and you'll find the big time sellers are still adding the price of postage to the cost of the item. So I'm just pinching in a spine and getting it the shape that I want along the back, like this. I think I might need to add a bit of clay around those shoulders. Actually no, when I put the arms in, that will bring some more clay up there, so that should be alright. Just make sure my neck's centered. Bring the spine up through the shoulder blade, like that, because we expect a spine. Sorry, you see I'm just pinching along, and once you've got it pinched into a spine shape up to the base of the neck, just smooth it off a little, because a very hard spine looks like the animal's starved. So there we go. We're now like this. So let's get a stomach on the thing, yeah? Let's get my neck where I want it. Brilliant. Quick sip of drink. Right. Some accent in gold clay. Don't forget, you should be conditioning your clay, even if it's soft like the metallic ranges are. Conditioning is where you bring it out into sticks and then scrunch it back together without trapping air, and do that a couple of times. The reasoning behind that is the clay, what keeps it soft is a chemical. They call it a plasticizer, which means a chemical that keeps plastic soft. It can start to leach out, so it's not evenly distributed like it was in the factory. And the older the clay gets, the reason why it gets dry and crumbly is because that plasticizer wants to evaporate. Can you see I'm measuring up the towel and the body But yes, so the plasticizer wants to leach out of your clay. And what you're doing when you're conditioning is mixing that back in so you don't end up with pockets of plasticizer, which can cause weak points in your baked clay if you get a big pocket of it. Now, I've never had a big pocket of it. I have had clay that's gone completely dry. For that, I recommend chop it down small and add some liquid polymer clay. Now, what I'm doing, if you get it to roughly the right length, you need a little bit too short for the different proportions. So thicker body, neck, towel. As you roll that out flat, it's going to spread it a bit. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to roll it out so that it is 1/2 centimetre to 1 centimetre thick, depending on how big you want that stomach. Right, get that neck up, whoop, all the way up. So that's what you're looking for, is that sort of shape. Oop, don't do that. There we go. Now, if it doesn't peel off your board easily, get your tissue blade. You want to start in front of you and bring it towards you like that. Once you're through your clay, take it, blade away. That's how you free your clay up. So, now we're going to put you on your back wings like that. Sorry, like that. And we're just going to place the towel so that it is evenly in that space, up round the body, under the neck, like that. Now, then making sure you're not trapping air, I'm just pinching it into the place that I want. So I wanted a little bit more of a prominent chest, so I just put a little bit more of a bulge in it and brought it in a bit like that, so that the clay is a bit thicker there. Notice I'm just leaving that neck bit flat down like that, because we've not done with the face yet. You want to get rid of that big bump and just start to come round and push it down, making sure you're not squishing out your spine that you just put in. Okay, just pushing it in place. I'm going to the base of the neck, because I am going to bring it under its chin, but I've got to make its chin first. You can do that first if you want. I've always find it easier just to get this on and then focus on the face. So there we go. Right, we've got a stomach. Now let's come up to this face. What I'm going to do is that nose, I'm going to bring into a point like that, little pinches, then push down so it's got more of a flatted forehead, so it's more sort of diagonal into the nose, and then hook that just slightly under. So you're doing that, see? Now, that would mean there's too much clay here. So, what I'm going to do, just snap it off and bring it into a shape that I like under the chin, which is just a little bit rounded, is what I'm going to do. Like that, so it stops in the point, see, like that. And all I've been doing is just pinching it and bringing it up and around. So have a fiddle, get it where you want it so that it looks how you're happy with. And once you've got your stomach in place, and you haven't got too many weird bumpy bits. I spend more time actively fiddling and getting shapes how I want than I do any other form of construction on my dragons, at least. Probably on everything. I want that head a bit flatter. There we go. That's more like it. There. That's what I want. Right. Let's move my gold clay out the way. What I'm going to do is put some glitter on that belly now. So, because you want to do that before you get the legs in, or it's going to be hard. Bit of greaseproof paper, an old scrappy bit. And you can hear my voice is still not right. I'm going to put a bit of clay. Now if you fold the paper in half first, you'll find that crease will help you pour back the excess. But it's not easy to put in afterwards without chucking your glitter everywhere. Remember, people, if you've got glitter, turn your fan off. Don't sneeze. If you're working with very fine glitter or mica powder, you might want to consider a face mask, especially mica powder. It's not great in your lungs. Now, I have found, I've tried putting it on with a paintbrush and it does a nice even coat. I like using the tip of my finger and just doing some dabs so that it's not an even covering of glitter. There's the background showing through. Can you see?
Gold sandstone.
See? It's ooh. So it's patches rather than an even coat. You use less glitter and I think it's a really nice effect. Don't forget to go right up to the edges on both sides.
Should you be wearing a mask to protect your lungs?
This glitter is not that fine, so it doesn't kick up in the air. When I use my mica powder, I totally do. And the other thing that I advise, with your mica powder, you can get various smelling things like either a small bit of essential oil, or I got a vanilla powder which smells very strongly of vanilla, but you want something that doesn't show up so well, that smells strongly, and you mix a bit in with your mica. So if you can smell it, then that means you've got your pot open somewhere and there's mica spilling somewhere and it's in the air. It's proved useful because when you store stuff you can have accidents, and it's better to know that you've got something in the air that's not good in your lungs than not. There are some companies that actually put like a vanilla smell in their mica powder for that reason. But look at that with dots from your finger. So it's very uneven, but a nice coating. So I'm going to put that to one side because we're going to need it on the wings and the horns and all things like that. But I'm going to wipe down, get rid of that glitter off the tabletop because I don't want it on the rest of the body. Right, so we are now at a point where we need to do some limbs. So I'm going to show you how to use your scrap clay when you haven't got enough of the pattern or the colour that you want. We're going to chop up 4 balls, roughly the same size and slightly smaller than what you're going to need. So that'll do it. quite a pretty pattern on the inside of that. Nice. Last time you'll see it, because it's going to get enclosed. Right, let's bring these balls into balls. I say this most videos, but if you haven't watched any of my others, I'll say it again. If you're serious about claying, learn to do this dual-wheeled, because almost never is it the situation where you've got to roll one ball. There's always more than one, usually at least two, and it saves you so much time. You don't even have to have the balls the same size. That's leveling up. If you can roll two balls at once, where one's big like this and one's the size of a pea, then you managed it, you're good. So 4 balls, but it does cut the time down so much. We're literally going to put that, let's drag this out so that it's a little bit wider, a little bit smushed on the corners so it folds easier. You're going to put that your ball in the middle of the clay. No air bubbles, remember. Push down so that you've got that bit without air, and then you're going to start to wrap the colour that you want around the colour that you don't, like that. Now, if all I had was this sheet and I couldn't put another one on like that, you can start to come up the sides like that. But I always find it easiest just to come up the sides as much as you can, and on that last little bit make sure you've got just enough just to fill in some of these wrong colours. There you go, totally coated. First ball. Now we're going to need some of that extra to do the lines on the wings. Can you see the veins? So it turned out right. We've got 1 sheet per ball. You can make it even thinner and wider if you're not sure whether it's going to cover. Just pinch and pull, and don't be too brutal on it. It's better to do it lots of little bits than trying to yank one bit, because it'll just break. You're just rolling it up the sides like that. See, you can get 1 sheet to cover your ball if you're careful about it. There you go, ball 2. And I know they look scrappy, we're gonna do that in a second. So if you haven't made enough of a pattern clay, you can still work with that pattern. The reason why I don't suggest just mix it up again is, me personally, I find it hard to make the exact colour. I can make a similar colour, but to try and make an exact colour twice in, more than once is difficult. And when you think about the amount of different colours that go into a swirl mix or a pattern block, that's a lot of colours you've got to get exactly right as the one you did before. So there's so many points where it can go wrong, and you end up with your new lot of pattern clay slightly out colour wise. It's a better rule to make more than you think you're going to need and have leftovers than it is to do what I'm doing here and have too little and have to veneer everything like this. But I thought I'd do it because it is a problem that happens to us clayers. You do get to the end point and you've done the body and you think, oh, I've not got enough to do the legs at the right proportions, or the head, you can do this for the head as well. But you see, I've got all 4 balls now covered. Then we're going to roll them back out and get rid of those joining lines, and we can then make these balls of clay into the limbs. See, you wouldn't know there's another colour in the middle of that. Right. The only problem you will find, if you haven't got the clay exactly the same size as the others, it's hard to take clay off of veneered pieces like this. So what I'm doing, those 2 look kind of smaller, those 2 look bigger. They're going to be back legs, they're going to be front legs. So let's start with the back leg. That's what we're looking for. So what we're going to do, get rid of that join line, make sure it's completely smooth. You don't want to have any blemishes on there that you don't want. It's harder to get out once you shape the leg. So in the middle, we're going to push in. I'm using these fingers and I'm doing that and spinning it. See? Spin and push. And what I'm getting is the top side is very slightly bigger than the bottom side, so I've not gone completely down the middle line. And gonna keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going until it's about that thin. The thinness that you want there is the distance from that line where the back of the legs goes to the kneecap. Yeah, so that's going to be at its thinnest point. That's what you want that to be. You don't look like a kneecap, you're going to be a kneecap. So the bigger end, we're just going to slightly see where it's stuck at. I'm just slightly tapping and doing that pushing thing just to bring it to a more oval shape. Yeah, top of the leg. See, now this needs to be the bottom. That's a calf, isn't it? And a foot. So we need to get a foot out of this. So like we did with that middle joint, we're going to portion out a tiny little bump like that, a foot. And the thinness that you're getting here is going to be the ankle. So now that's what we got. So what I first do is I push that bump so that it's flat on one side like that. Yeah, that's going to be the top, and then I bring that down just a little bit and flatten it out so it's a right calf shape. Then we're going to put a bend in the knee. You're going to hold 2 fingers top of the kneecap, 2 fingers bottom of the kneecap, and push together, and that gives you that kneecap shape. So we're like that now. Yeah, ankle goes over, and you're going to pull that bit of clay forward. So we're pinching like that, and then we're going to pinch that in, and that motion brings you a foot shape. Then we're going to get the heel, pinch, 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 pinch. There you go, heel. Get it where you want it. One leg. If you want that calf to come down, you can just move it a bit like that. There we go. That looks pretty good to me. Just have a bit of a thin angle on the desk, making sure you got it right. Right, now to repeat that with that. So I'm going to do it quicker. Almost in the middle. Pinchy, pinch, 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 pinch. Through to the kneecap. The side that's the biggest, which is that one, goes up to make the calf. Like that. Thigh, not calf. Pinch out a foot. Got to remember claying and anatomy. You wouldn't believe I trained as a masseuse back when I was a teenager. Absolutely fascinated by it. For all the wives' tales that your parents say to you, that is absolute rubbish. You can actually rub someone better. Kneecap. Pinch along the side, bring a foot out, bring a heel out. You get kind of quick at these feet after a while. There we go. That looks pretty good to me. So just check that they're roughly the same. They look it to me. That's got too much up the front there. Because the thing is, it's always all at the back. The bone don't get any of that muscle to the front. So you have a bulge along the front of the leg. It looks odd. Right, 2 back legs. So let's get our dragon. Bring it up like that. And we're going to get a back leg. Now, that calf bit goes diagonally down towards the base of the towel. Like that. Not too far out. There we go. Right. You're going to push it in to place like that. We're going to get the other one and put it exactly in line. I know I'm in the way of the camera. I've got to get over the top of it. Because if you don't have your hips lined up, it looks like hip dysplasia. Since that is an actual condition, the human eye will spot when you've got things like your hips out and your arms are out of shape and all that sort of thing. So there's certain stuff you can get away with being not even. You can have one leg slightly bigger than the other and the eye won't spot it. But have your hips out of place. Don't have a spinal cord. These sorts of things, you notice it. So, there we go. We got legs on. Now from there, we can do the towel. Let's do a nice little wiggle in it. I think this one's not going to go all the way to the leg like the other one did. I think it's just going to have a bit of a wiggle. Like that. That'll do me fine. Now you've got to watch that the feet don't tuck too far under. That it stands up how you want it to. Yeah? Fiddle around with it, get it where you want. Then we can go on to the arms. Now, the arms are similar to the legs. There's already join lines in that. It'll look rubbish if I don't get rid of them. Put you out the way. Right, arms. Again, you're at the almost middle. And you're pushing in like you did before. Now, bring that up a bit and a little further than you do with the legs, because you've got a bigger thigh than you have a forearm. We're gonna make a hand like that. We're going to put an elbow in instead of a knee, so you do less of a pronounced bend. You fold it in half, but you don't really need to put that point in unless you really want to. And the hand is just going to be flat like that rather than putting a heel in. So same again. Now what I thought, since it's a Christmas dragon, I got a load of these from my mum. My mum was very into scrapbooking, and when she died she had a lot of craft stuff over, and I only took things that I thought I could use with my clay, nothing else. I know there is a very big temptation when you are into a craft to get not only everything for that craft, but everything for any craft possible. You end up with so much stuff, and you're working that on someday you might use it. And the problem with that is you can end up with so much stuff that you don't ever use it, and you can't get at any of the things that you would use because it's buried under all the rest of the bits that you've got. So I can't work like that. It affects my mental health. I have to be quite tidy. So yes, I only took what I needed. Right, arms. So we've got two arms. They're going to mirror each other. We're going to put them just above the wings, slightly further forward in that space there. Now make sure you don't push down so hard that you bend your legs up too much. Okay, so watch what you're doing with the rest of the body. But we've now got arms in, and what I'm going to do, let's bring that neck up, is just shape them so that they are holding this snowflake. So I'm going to push it on one side, push it onto the other hand, make sure not too much is missing, bend the fingers round a bit, get the elbows into place. So again, you're back fiddling. So much of your clay work is just fiddling and finagling. Whoops, don't drop down, come on. There we go, hold it up like that. That'll do. What do you reckon? So we're getting there. Those wings are not level. Let's bring that up like that. See, this is the problem when you move it afterwards. Can you see the cracking that's down the side there? So what I'll need to do is go in with a tool. Let's see, what have I got? And make sure I smooth that over, because once baked it's harder to fix. So be aware when you're altering position that you're not messing up joints. Come on. Certain things you don't need tools for, but the amount of times I've got cracks, they never crack out in the open. It's always in a place that you can't get your finger into. It's very inconsiderate of them. There we go, that's in, that's where I want. Little fiddle around before we get started on the head. I'm going to do the head before I put the wings in. Whoop. But that wing has just started to get a crack in it, and I don't want that, where I've accidentally bent the end over. There we go. Right, that's where I want it. Your arms have dropped down. The more elements you put in, the more you've got to wrestle with it. There we are. Right, you where I want? Yeah. Right, we are now ready to put some eyes in. So first off, sit it in front of you, make sure that it's got a symmetrical head. And I'm going to use a ball tool just to place some eye sockets. And what I've done is I've come in at the nose at that angle like that, and I'm just slightly pulling them out just a little bit. See? Now what I've got, I found some nice little black metal beads, so you're gonna have some black eyes like this. Let's get the other one. Whoop. Here we go, next one. And you've got to be careful that you put them in so that the bead holes are not showing, because it looks really cheap when you show the drill holes through the beads. So we're at that stage. Now you have two choices. Either you can get clay, make tiny little thin sausages and put them top and bottom like that for eyelids, or you can push them in and just start to bring the clay that's around them and pinch it so that that forms a shorter, more narrow eyelid look like that. Now I get my tool, let's put some crease lines in the eyes because it looks more friendly. Right, see? So you can just pinch in some eyelids for it. Now next thing we're going to do, where's my pin tool? Let's draw a mouth on you. You want a smile, and around this side, smile. Make sure that they're roughly the same length and symmetrical. There we go. Got a smile on it now. Yeah? So we're getting there. Right. Nostrils. Tiny, tiny, tiny bit of the accent in clay. Really small balls. Absolutely the smallest ball you can pinch off your accent in clay. Two exactly the same size, and you want to put them just where it curves over on the tip of the nose, level with each other like that. Can you focus? Yeah. Now then you get your pin tool, whoop, don't drop off, back on there you, and you're going to put a hole, make sure your pin tool's clean, right through the center of each of the dots, and you end up with little gold nostrils, and I'll show you what I mean. There we go. Right, can you see? That's how you get those nostrils. You try and make a little circle, a little donut like that, and you will find that you can't do it. It's too hard. Right, come on, I want you chest up, feet down like that. There we go. 'Cause I want you to stand up with that falling face forwards. Right, last sip of drink. Now we're on to those wings. What we're going to do, accent in clay, pull a little bit off. We're going to make some semicircles. Whoop, don't smack your dragon in the head. So you can see how usually when I make dragons, they're is at least half again the amount of clay that I've used on this usually being used, because it hasn't got all that tin foil and wire inside of it. But it actually is stronger, because the problem is the thicker the clay, how it actually bakes. This is a good way to get a semicircle. Get your ball, push it flat. Now you're getting two sides and you're going to pull them down towards the table like that. Semicircle. Yeah, if your clay, in order to turn to the hard plastic, it needs to reach its curing temperature all the way through. So the bit in the middle, if it's FIMO, needs to get to 110, the same as the outside needs to get to 110. And the problem you can find yourself with is that the clay in the middle don't reach temperature, so you get a real nice hard outside and a soft center, which is not at all stable. You're going to measure these semicircles against the length of your wings. Then we're going to get our needle tool, use that flat roundy bit, we're going to push it in there, pull that, make it into a nice pinch flat little bump. Then a bit further along, do the next one, pinch out into a nice bump, get the corners so they look right. Third one, I find you can end up with these little corners that you just need to tap out, but they're fine. And that's the fourth one. There we go. So we now got those sort of wavy wings. Now the trick is you want the bottom line, the bottom edge, to be thin, and the top edge where you're going to join it to be the same thickness as your wings. So hold it against your wing and check that that works, and that does. So on to the next one. Like we did with the last one, we need to do, you can put your dents in first and then come along, tap out that little line, pinch, tap, pinch, tap, pinch, and tap and pinch. One of my friends the other day, who is totally not into clay, said he watched this and he found my streams to be absolutely boring. It's a fair point. If you're not into the subject, you're going to find it boring. I'm like, what did you expect? It's a tutorial on how to make things from clay. But he says I need to think of more stuff to talk about that isn't just the instructions.
Who said this?
Matthew. So you may end up with more waffle. Let me know if you want more than just my good news stories and me talking through my life in clay work. Because if he's right, he's right. It won't offend me. Right, I'm rolling out some very, very thin sticks of the main body clay, and what we're going to do is decide which side is going to be in that corner of the wing, which is going to be that bit there, and we're going to put this line and just stretch it out down to that first bump and then break it off. If you've got a X-Acto knife, you can use that. I've got to go on a hunt for my X-Acto blade. Well, X-Acto's a brand name, so craft knife. I don't know how I've managed to lose it. It's one of my most used tools, but my desk is not the straightest thing at the moment. There we go. I'm just bringing them down to the middle of those bumps like that, and just pinching them at that top corner so that they all meet together like that. See? I know what I didn't do. Lift these up. I've not added glitter, have I? And all the gold bits get glitter. There we go. Let's just lift them off. See, even I make mistakes, but it's all rectifiable. So, glitter, come here, your turn. It's my brother-in-law's fault. He's the one that bought me holographic glitter for my Christmas present this year, and now I want to glitter everything. But I make sure that I don't wash glitter down the sink. I will use wet wipes to wash it off my hands and put it in the bin, because nobody needs glitter in their water source. It needs to be on your clay. I know that there is edible glitter that biodegrades and that sort of stuff. I have no idea how it works with polymer clay. I don't know if anyone's actually tried it. So if you've tried it, put a message down under this video. I'd love to know how you found it. Did it work? Did it just dissolve in the oven? Let's see. I can reline that up, and that little extra bit, put it back on and just tap it and smooth it. There you go. So you don't even waste the bit that you took off. Right, that's one wing. Now the glitter off my hands, because I don't want to glitter up all the top bit, and I'm just going to hold it underneath and firmly push it into place where I want it. Make sure you're not squishing all these veins that you put in. If you think you might, put them in afterwards. But I'm just making sure it's pushed on to that wing frame. There you go. We've got a wing in. Turn you round and do the lines on the outside for the other wing. So like that. Let's do it quick. Whoop. Top corner. There we go. So arty hearty life, have you had any time to do any artwork that isn't slime based? Because I know you've been very, very busy with your slime workshops that you're doing. Arty hearty life runs amazing slime workshops under, is it Glitter Dragon? I can't remember your company name. That's terrible of me. It's something with a dragon. Slime Dragon, maybe? I have mentioned it previous weeks, but if you happen to be in the Surrey area and you want to take your kids out for a very fun day, My Space Sutton, Arty Hearty Life holds slime workshops and they're awesome. Here we go, and I'm just pushing that one in place like that. So we've now got some wings going on. Right, now I'm going to put a little horn at the end of his tail. So I'm going to get gold, and I'm going to get some of the body colour like this. I'm going to pinch that body colour into a point, and I'm going to put a layer of gold around the outside edge quite thin, so you're going to bring it up into a point like that, break it off, do another one, and this looks like extra faff. It's far more faff than I usually do with my point that I usually do in one colour, but this works out really well on that dragon. So you've got an arrow with gold around the outside. You're going to then hold the bottom, hold the tip and twist. Like that. And you've got two-tone spike that you can then... Sorry, I'll just add it on and then I'll bring it back to the camera. Push it on in place like that. Here we go. Can you see? So he's now got a spike in. Right, we're going to do his back frill. Get a bit of your accent in clay. This bit of... We're almost done. Back frill, horn and claws. Then I'm probably gonna have to do the party hat off camera. So what we're doing is we're gonna get a bit of clay that is the length of its body. So like that. I mean, how long have we been streaming? That'll do it. I'm pushing it into a little triangle against the counter, so I'm just flattening one side and pointing the other two, so that's a little peak like that. There we go, and we're gonna take that off and just lay that down the middle where the spine is. Make sure you push it on firmly, but you're not causing any distortion of your clay work that you've done already. So watch what you're doing with these, with the hand you're not pushing with, that you're not being too rough. Follow along the spine. Let's get round that tail bend like that. If you don't push the clay on properly, the next stage is really difficult. So you want to make sure it's got a nice firm hold onto that back, even down in that neck joint like that. Get some scissors. I love these little toenail scissors, that's what you want. And we're just going to go in at that angle and snip along that raft once it's in place to make some nice little back spikes like that. There we go. Get your angles in. You can do this whilst it's on the board before you put it on its back, but you will find that it's harder to push into place and not smudge the spikes. So I find it easier just going along the dragon once the clay is in place, and you haven't really got to worry too much about even spacing. So long as they're all facing roughly the same direction, your snips, it will look good. So there you go. Let's take you off. What do you reckon? You've got spikes now all the way up the back like that. Quick pair of horns in. So bit of clay. You want two balls the same size like this. We're gonna just roll them out into sausages where the ends are pointed and the middle slightly thicker, and then push them flat. Then, like we did with the towel, we're going to twist like that. There we go, all the way to the end. Same with this ball. Bring it up, tapered it at the tip, smush it flat and twist. Right, now what I do is I put one end towards the tip of the front spike, go above the eyebrow. Let's put you on your side and show you. Go above the eyebrow like that, and then bring the horn round the back, then give it a twist like that. Go on, out that way. There you go, like that. And you mirror that on the other side. Round like that, and a twist. Horns. If you want little nose spikes, you can just do a very small triangle twist like you did with the towel. Tiny, 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 tiny twist. See? And just stick that on tip of its, going down its muzzle. A couple of them. See? And then all you've got is claws and any decorations that you're going to put with your dragon. So I'm probably going to make it a holly wreath to put around its neck. It's already got its nice crystal that it's holding on to. Now if you want claws, what you're going to do, tiny little bit, roll it out into a tiny stick and make sure one end's pointed, so like that. Tiny, tiny little claw, and use your ball tool to pick it up. Whoop. Come on, just because my hands are sweating. There you go. Pick it up, put it in place, and you do 3 on each foot and 3 on each hand. Then you're sorted. You have a dragon ready to bake. You can fiddle around with its positioning if you wish, but we're sorted. So if this dragon interests you, I will show pictures of it when I've got it completely finished, but once he is made, baked and varnished, he's going to go into my shop, probably for around £20. So if that interests you, do message me and I will make sure that I reserve it for you, because again, I'm only making one. I hope you have a wonderful week, and if you make any dragons yourself, do feel free to message me. You like and follow my videos and my channel, it really helps. Any questions or anything like that, do get in touch. I'm usually free around the afternoons every day. Okay, have a good